Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I live in a town where the rain is more of a personality trait than a weather condition. It's always there, hanging in the sky like an unfinished thought, drizzling, misting, soaking. The locals barely notice it anymore. We've learned to live with the damp. The smell of wet pavement is part of our DNA. People don't complain about the rain here. They just buy umbrellas. And that's why, at first, I didn't think twice about the man with the yellow umbrella. It was a Monday, early spring, the kind of gray morning where the world feels like it's holding its breath. I stepped out of my apartment and saw him across the street, standing at the bus stop. He had a tall, lean frame, almost scarecrow-like, wore a long, tan trench coat that looked about a decade too old, and he held the brightest damn umbrella I'd ever seen, yellow like a school bus, so bright it didn't belong in this washed-out town. He wasn't waiting for the bus. That much was obvious. He was facing my building. No phone, no newspaper, just watching. I figured maybe he was meeting someone. Maybe his bus came later. Maybe he liked the rain. I didn't sleep well that night. I chalked it up to caffeine, but a part of me, the old part that still believed in shadows under the bed, felt uneasy. And when I left for work the next morning and saw him again, standing in the exact same spot, same coat, same yellow umbrella, I felt a tiny knot twist in my stomach. That was Tuesday. By Thursday, I was timing my exit, peeking through the blinds before I stepped outside. He was always there, always still, always staring at my window. Not in an overtly creepy way. Not yet, but enough to make me start double-checking my locks and closing the curtains a little tighter at night. I stopped taking the bus after that week. I started driving instead, even though my car's heating didn't work and the windshield wipers squealed like dying mice. I thought putting distance between me and him would help. It didn't. I started seeing him in other places. First, it was at the grocery store parking lot, standing by a lamppost, umbrella open even though the sun was out. Then, outside the office building where I worked, just standing there, halfway across the street. No umbrella this time, just the same old trench coat and a stare that felt like it could peel paint. I told my coworkers. They laughed, said maybe I had a secret admirer. I told my neighbor. She offered me pepper spray and a nervous smile. When I finally went to the police, they asked if he'd threatened me. He hadn't. They asked if I had proof. I didn't. They told me to call again if anything happened. That night, I bought a security camera and installed it facing the backyard. I lived on the ground floor of a small 3-unit building. My backyard was fenced in. No gate. No way in unless you went through the building itself or climbed the fence. The camera was motion activated and had night vision. I watched the feed obsessively for the first few nights. Nothing. Just a raccoon once. A few squirrels. The occasional blur of wind-shaken branches. And then, on the 5th night, I woke up to static. That buzzing white noise you only hear on old TVs or bad phone lines. I don't even know why it woke me up, but it did. I checked my phone. No calls. No messages. Just static coming from my living room, where the monitor connected to the camera was. I got up. My apartment was cold. Too cold. I didn't remember leaving a window open. I walked into the living room. The monitor was on, glowing in the dark. Fuzzy lines moved across the screen like ghosts trying to get through. And then he came into focus, standing in my backyard, umbrella open, yellow and glowing like a cursed sun in the black and white feed. There hadn't been any rain that night. He didn't move, didn't walk around, just stood there, the umbrella perfectly still despite the wind, his face hidden in shadow, but I knew he was looking at me, through the camera, through the wall, through everything. I backed away, grabbed my phone, and called the police. My voice was shaking so badly, I had to repeat myself 3 times. They said they'd send someone. By the time they arrived, he was gone. No footprints, no sign of forced entry. The fence was still locked. The backyard was still empty. But on my porch, taped neatly to the door, was a single photograph. It was a picture of me, sleeping, my body curled on my side, one arm thrown over the pillow, mouth slightly open. It had been taken from inside the room. From the angle, it had to be from the corner near my closet. The closet I always left open just cracked. I moved out the next day, found a place 2 towns over, near a highway and a 24-hour gas station. Somewhere loud, somewhere bright, somewhere umbrellas don't make sense. But even now, every time it rains, I feel a knot twist in my stomach. And every now and then, I swear I see a flash of yellow out of the corner of my eye. At the end of a street, reflected in a puddle, on the other side of a window. I haven't used an umbrella since. Story 2. It started with a crash. Not the kind you hear on a busy road or in a thunderstorm, but the kind that happens on a quiet Tuesday night and takes someone from you forever. Her name was Tanya, my best friend since we were 8. The one person who knew everything. My first kiss, the lie I told my parents in 10th grade, the dreams I never spoke out loud to anyone else. We shared everything. And then, in one heartbeat, she was gone. The accident was brutal. They said she died instantly, that she didn't suffer. That didn't make it easier. The funeral was closed casket. I didn't even get to say goodbye properly. Just a photo of her on an easel, smiling like she always did when she made me laugh too hard. After the service, I went home and curled up in bed with my phone, staring at our last conversation. A dumb meme she'd sent me the night before she died. I kept reading it, trying to make it mean more than it did. Trying to feel something other than the thick, choking emptiness that had settled in my chest like smoke. I couldn't bring myself to delete her number. It felt like deleting her. A week passed. Then, one night around 2:30 in the morning, my phone buzzed. I'm not gone. It was from Tanya's number. At first, I laughed, like a dry, startled laugh. I figured maybe her mom had access to her phone. Maybe it hadn't been disconnected yet. And maybe she was sending some final messages to her friends. Grief does weird things to people. But then came another message. Do you remember prom? You wore that stupid blue dress you hated. But I told you looked like a moonbeam. My breath caught. That was something only Tanya would know. I didn't hate that dress. It was itchy, and the color washed me out. But Tanya convinced me to wear it anyway. She said I looked magical. Moonbeam. That was her word for it. No one else knew that. No one. I tried to call the number. It rang once, then went to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. The next day, I got another text. You still chew your nails when you're nervous. Stop that. You'll bleed again. It was true. I've been gnawing at my thumb so hard. I had little red crescents along the sides. But I hadn't told anyone that. I hadn't seen anyone since the funeral. I was grieving in private, alone in my apartment, with the curtains drawn and the lights dimmed. My stomach twisted. My head started pounding with a pulse that wasn't entirely mine. I blocked the number, just like that. I didn't want to see it again. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could forget, pretend it didn't happen. But that night, I had a dream. She was sitting at the edge of my bed. Tanya, wearing the exact outfit she had on the last time we met in person. Ripped jeans, her faded hoodie, her hair in that loose braid she did when she didn't care about impressing anyone. She was smiling, but her eyes were wrong. Flat, dark, like the reflection of something dead floating just beneath the surface of a still lake. She didn't say anything, just stared, until I woke up in a sweat, the sheets tangled around my legs like vines. The text started again a day later, from a no-caller ID. Why'd you block me? You're still my best friend. Don't ignore me. I changed my phone, bought a new SIM, new number, didn't transfer my contacts. I even moved. A new city 2 hours away. New job, new apartment. No one knew where I'd gone except for my parents. 3 weeks of peace. I started to think it was over. That maybe it was a prank, some hacker or friend of a friend being cruel. And maybe they'd finally given up. And then, one night, I got a call. No ringtone. Just the vibration on the nightstand, humming like a trapped bee. No caller ID. I should have ignored it. Every cell in my body told me not to pick up, but I did. I pressed the phone to my ear, barely breathing. There was silence on the other end, for a long time, and then a whisper, low, breathless. I miss watching you sleep. I dropped the phone. My heart was beating so hard I thought it would burst. I turned on every light in my apartment, checked the locks, the windows, the closets. Nothing. Everything was locked. Everything looked normal. But the next morning, when I woke up, something had changed. My bedroom window was wide open. I never leave it open, especially not at night. And there on my nightstand was a heart, drawn in Sharpie, sloppy, tilted, but familiar. I recognized the handwriting. It was Tanya's, the lupia, the rounded T, the same heart she used to draw on our notes in class, the same heart she carved into the bottom of my shoe in 9th grade as a joke. I felt cold all over, like something inside me had been dipped in ice water. I didn't call the cops. What would I tell them? My dead best friend is texting me and sneaking into my apartment to doodle hearts. I try to move on, but it didn't stop. Sometimes the mirror in my bathroom fogs up while I shower, and when I wipe it clean, there's writing. Just faint, barely there. But I know it's not my imagination. Miss me. Still besties. You promised. I'll leave the lights on now. All the time. I sleep with a baseball bat under my bed and a knife in my drawer. It doesn't help. Last week, I found a photo on my kitchen counter. A printed photo. Glossy. Fresh. Still warm, almost. It was a picture of me. Sleeping. From inside my room. The angle was low, near the floor. Like someone had crouched beside the bed to take it. And there, in the corner of the image, just barely visible in the dark, was the shape of a face, half hidden, smiling. I burned the photo. I threw away my phone. I'm writing this because I don't know what else to do. Maybe someone out there has seen this before. Maybe I'm not the only one being haunted by someone who used to love them. But if you ever lose someone who knew everything about you, maybe think twice before you keep them in your contacts. Because sometimes the dead don't want to say goodbye. Sometimes they just want to stay. Story 3. It was always quiet in the library after 10. Not peaceful quiet. No, not the kind that soothes you. The kind that presses in from all sides. The kind that hums behind your ears like a warning. The kind of quiet that feels like it's waiting for something. I was in my senior year at college. Midterms were eating everyone alive, and most people had the good sense to study at home or crash early. But not me. I liked the fourth floor of the campus library. Forgotten, half-lit, always cold. It made me feel like I could think better. No distractions. Just me, my laptop, and the occasional creak of pipes groaning through the ceiling like tired bones. That's where I first saw him. He wore a faded gray janitor's uniform, the kind with deep pockets and bleach stains down the legs. His cleaning cart was empty, completely empty. No mop, no trash bags, not even a rag. Just a hollow, squeaky thing he pushed back and forth like it was part of some routine he couldn't break. I noticed him because he didn't do anything. He never cleaned. He never spoke. He just walked the aisles, slowly, and watched. I told myself he was harmless. Maybe he was just bored. Maybe he was mentally unwell. Maybe he was one of those night shift workers who spend so much time alone that they forget how to act around people. That's what I told myself. Until that one night. It was past 11 when I dropped my pen. I remember that detail because I just glanced at my phone and seen the time. 11:23 p.m. The pen rolled under the table, and I leaned down to grab it. When I came back up, he was there. Right behind me. I didn't hear him walk up, not even the cartwheels. Just silence, then his breath on my neck. "You dropped this," he said. His voice was dry, papery, like someone flipping through an old book too fast. He held out a pen, but it wasn't mine. Mine was still on the floor. I froze, took it from him without thinking. My hand brushed his cold. Like touching a window in December. I looked at his chest. No name tag, just the outline where one should have been. I tried to say something, but I couldn't make the words leave my throat. He smiled, just barely, then turned and walked away. The next morning, I went straight to the library's front desk, asked to work the late-night janitorial shift. The girl blinked at me. "We don't have one," she said. "Our cleaning crew leaves at 9. I asked if maybe someone new had been hired. She checked the schedule, shook her head. Nobody's been hired in months. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the wheels of that empty cart squeaking down the aisles, over and over, like it had followed me home. So I made a plan. I went back the next night with pepper spray in my jacket pocket. Sat at the same table. Left my phone recording, just in case. The minutes crawled. 10 o'clock passed. Then 10:30. Then 11. At 11:23 p.m. on the dot, the lights flickered. Not a full blackout, just a quick pulse. Like the building blinked. When the lights steadied, he was there. At the end of the aisle, smiling. Only now, there was no card, no uniform, just a tall, pale figure in clothes that didn't fit right, like he'd borrowed them from someone smaller. His eyes were wide, too wide, no blinking. His mouth twitched like he was trying to remember how to use it. I stood up fast, pulled the pepper spray out. "Don't come any closer," I said. He didn't move, not a step, but I swear to God, I could hear breathing behind me. Deep, wheezing breaths. I spun around. Nothing. Why turn back? He was right in front of me. Too close. I sprayed. Full blast. Right in his face. He didn't scream. He didn't flinch. Just stared with eyes that didn't water and skin that didn't react. Then, just like that, he stepped back into the darkness between the shelves and disappeared. I ran. Left my laptop. Left my bag. Just ran. The next morning, I went to campus security and begged them to check the footage. They watched it with me, frame by frame. And here's the part that still keeps me up. They saw me sitting. They saw me stand. They saw me pull out the pepper spray and point at something. But there was no one there. Just me, screaming at empty air. They laughed it off. Said I was tired, stressed, probably hallucinating. But here's the thing. When I got home that night, I pulled the pepper spray can out of my pocket. My hand was shaking, and on the trigger, clear as day, was a fingerprint, one that didn't belong to me. I had it checked by a friend who worked in forensics. She ran it through every database she could find. There was a match. It belonged to David Crowley, a janitor, died in a fire on campus in 1978. Right here, in the library, 4th floor. They say he got trapped when the elevator shorted out, that he burned alive trying to push his cleaning cart through the flames, that his body was never fully recovered. I don't go back to that library anymore, but sometimes around 11:23 p.m., I still hear wheels squeaking in the dark, and I wonder if next time he'll leave something else behind.